Yep, that everybody could go and look at for anybody who has questions or anything about that. And it'll be on the link.
Yeah, so there's six separate videos of all the basic six hand positions. Okay. All right. So yeah, so Billy will send you guys this link if and so you can go through it on your own time. All right. Great. So thanks to everybody for joining. If you to start, if you guys wouldn't mind just putting your name in the chat so we can have a record of who's here, that'd be great. And then if you do have any questions as we go through the slideshow, we're going to try to address them as we go through and try to clear up any confusion or any questions that come up as they come up. So let me bring up this show and again, appreciate you guys all joining. Give me a second here. All right, can you guys all see that? Yeah? No? Anybody? All right.
I can see it. It's up.
All right. So just to start, umpiring's hard. It really is. There's a lot of rules in baseball and softball. There's a lot of weird rules. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't come up frequently. And one of the things, talking with Billy in the off season, just wanting to put together a presentation of some stuff that is confusing, some things that may come up during the game, just to help you guys out, the best we can as a training opportunity. And you guys, a lot of these things we're going to talk about today, you may already know, but if you got one thing out of this entire presentation, you're going to be a better umpire for it. Just so listen in, ask questions, and we'll do our best to answer them as they come up. One of the things I do want to mention, as you guys are as you're learning and you're developing as umpires, a lot of the coaches there's they're all volunteers as well. They may not know the rules. So I think from a dialogue standpoint, the more you can know and the better you can talk about what the rules are, the better you're going to be able to communicate to some of the coaches who may not know. We're planning on sending the same presentation to all the head coaches this year, asking them to review it as well. So everybody's on the same page, and we don't have any issues, hopefully, for the season on some of the stuff that gets confusing, consistently year to year. So, all right, you guys have heard me ramble enough. We'll get into the presentation. All right, so starting out, fair or foul ball. All right, so a ball is fair when it settles on fair territory between home and first or third base, meaning so between home and the corner bases. If the ball settles in fair territory, settles meaning it stops moving, it's a fair ball. Any slow roller down the line, anything that stays in front of those bases, as long as if it stops in fair territory, it's a fair ball. If it contacts fair ground beyond first or third base, meaning say you have a line drive that goes down the line and over the base, if it touches fair territory and then goes foul, it's a fair ball. Opposed to if in front of the bases, if a ball touches the fair territory and then rules foul, that's a foul ball, right? So the bases are your benchmark. Touches fair territory beyond the base, fair ball. Touches fair territory in front of the base, as long as it stays in fair territory, it's also a fair ball. If that ball rolls foul before it crosses the base, then it's a foul ball. All right. So the next bullet point is on or over fair ground when bounding to the outfield past first or third base, right? So if you got a ball that rolls, right, and then sometimes they bounce down the line. If that bounces over the base in fair territory and then lands foul, all right, that's a fair ball. All right. So as soon as it crosses that base, that's like instantaneously. All right. That's in fair territory. That's touched fair territory, goes over the base, lands foul. That's a fair ball. All right. Touches first, second, or third base, right? So if you have a hard ground ball, it touches the base and then shoots sideways, it goes foul. If the ball touches the base, it's always a fair ball. So here's a question. Anybody raise their hand? So say the ball's pitched, the batter hits a line drive and it hits the pitcher's rubber, and then shoots sideways and goes foul. Is that a fair or foul ball? Anybody? Liam, you got to take yourself off mute.
It is a fair ball because it
No,
touches.
no, because it has to touch a base, right? So
Oh,
right, so if it hits the rubber, right? So that's a
yeah.
weird one, right? So that one is one, right? If you hit a line drive and it goes off the rubber and goes sideways, all right, it has to be a base in order for it to be fair. All right. All right. So another one, while over fair territory, the ball touches the person of an umpire or player, their clothing or equipment. All right. So that ball, if it's in fair, it touches a person. Doesn't if it's a player or an umpire, that's a fair ball. All right. And then in the event of a home run, all right. If a ball goes over the fence in fair territory, but like curves around the pole, it's not where it lands. All right. If it goes over the fence in fair territory, it goes around the pole. All right. That's a fair ball. Like everybody knows Pesky's pole at Fenway Park, right? That's a short right field foul pole. All right. And if that ball curves around it, all right, and lands foul, it's a home run. That's a fair ball. All right. Any questions on those?
I just want to confirm that all people on the field are a part of the field, right? Like coaches and assistant coaches and stuff.
Yep. So coaches should be in foul territory, and we'll go over that in a second. But if a coach happens to be in the wrong spot, that's a whole nother issue. All right. But so a coach should be
Like for
off
farm, if they're pitching, coach pitch, they're part
Yep.
of the field, right?
So the coaches should not be on the field. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, as far as farm goes, if you do have a coach pitch, they are considered a player, right? So it'd be the same rule as a. That's a good question. So if it's coach pitch, and say the coach gets a line drive off their noggin, and the fielder, that's a fair ball, right? So that counts as a player, all right? Great question. All right, common mistakes. All right, so the foul ball, the foul line. So the foul line is fair territory. So say that width of the chalk line, right? Say it's 3 inches, 3 or 4 inches, right? If the ball it stops, all right, touching, stops moving and it's touching that chalk line, that's a fair ball. If a ball hit to the outfield, it's slicing and it touches any part of that white line, that's a fair ball. So the foul line is fair territory. All right. Until the ball passes first or third base, it is still live. All right. Until the ball comes to rest in fair territory. Right. So what does that mean? Right. So sometimes you get see these weird hits like off the end of the bat and the ball spins. Right. And if that ball is going down the line and it comes back into play or out of play. All right. So the ball is still live until it comes to rest in foul territory. All right. So as soon as that ball starts moving, foul ball. All right. The ball contacts a dead ball area. Right. So if the ball hits the fence, hits the dugout, right? If that ball contacts the dead ball area, that's a foul ball. All right. Or if it hits a player, a coach, or an umpire in foul territory, that's a foul ball. So one of the things that we want to practice as an umpire is letting that play, the ball play out if it's still moving. As soon as you call foul ball, right? That's a foul ball, right? We can't reverse that call. If the ball is foul and then it rolls fair, if you call foul ball too early, plays over, it's a foul ball. So always let that ball finish moving before you make that call. We never want to take the opportunity away from a fielder or a batter because we make that foul ball call too soon. And as soon as you make that foul ball call, it's a foul ball. There's no going back, right? The runner stops running, the players may stop running. So, you want to make sure that ball comes to either stops moving or does one of those three things. It comes to a rest, contacts a dead ball area, or it's hit somebody in foul territory. All right. So home plate is fair territory. So if you have a ball that comes to rest on home plate, all right, anything that touches home plate or comes to rest on home plate, that's a fair ball. Now, softball has used a safety base in the past. This year, baseball is also going to be using a safety base. That safety base is foul territory. So it's something as an umpire that, especially the home plate umpire, wants to pay attention to is any balls going down the line. You want to make sure that you are paying attention to what base that hits. If it hits the regular first base, it's a fair ball. If it hits the safety base, it's a foul ball. All right, and I got a video here real quick. Let's see if this works. And I'm sorry, I don't have the paid version of YouTube. Uh-oh. I may get an advertisement here. Just hold on a second. All right. Good video. It's a quick one too. All right, so there's that. So a portion of the batter's box is in fair territory. So I'm going to go over that in a minute. I got an illustration on the next slide, but just you remember that a portion of the batter's box is in fair territory. All right, a foul tip caught cleanly by the catcher. All right, so a foul tip, batter swings, you hear the tink. All right, and the catcher catches the ball and secures it. That's a live ball. All right. So runners can advance. Somebody who's stealing does not have to go back. It's not a foul ball. That's a live ball on a caught foul tip. All right. If that same foul tip is dropped by the catcher, that's a foul ball. That's a dead ball. All right. So this just happened in a game I was at just yesterday. I'm sorry, Thursday, where it was a caught foul tip. The first runner on first stole second, and then thought it was a foul ball and started walking back to first. The catcher threw the ball to the second baseman and he tagged him out. Right, so that caught foul tip is in the ball is live. It's in play. All right. So a batted ball that contacts the batter in the batter's box that they occupy is a foul ball. All right. So that's the key, is it's the batter's box that they occupy. So if a right-handed batter swings, the ball hits their foot, hits their leg, even if it goes down to the ground as they start running, if it's in that batter's box, it's a foul. All right. If they cross that batter's box as they start running down the line and they contact that ball in fair territory, what's the call? Does anybody know? Anybody? No? All right, batter's out. All right, so that batter contacts the ball in play. That's a ball in fair territory. All right. A ball over foul territory contacted by a player who's standing in fair territory is a foul ball, right? So if I'm the pitcher and there's a ball in the air and I'm standing in fair territory and I reach over and I grab that to reach that ball and say I don't catch it, it goes off my glove. That's not a fair ball because I'm standing in fair territory. That's a foul ball. It's always where the ball is, not where the player is. All right, infield fly rule in foul territory. Okay, so as an umpire, if you get an infield fly rule, your call is going to be infield fly. Billy, what is it? Infield fly if fair is what the call is. Okay, so if it's questionable and if you don't know, if it's on the line, you call infield fly if fair. All right, and that infield fly, if it's a foul ball, all right, it's only in play if the ball is caught. If it's not caught, the ball is foul. Okay, so there's no, and that's just something to pay attention to. If you get a ball off to the side, or if it's a close play. That only counts if the ball is caught. If not caught, it's a foul ball. All right. And then a foul ball is always a dead ball. All right, except when caught in the air for an out or on a foul tip. All right, so we talked about the foul tip already, but if it's caught in the air for an out, runners can advance. They can tag up at their own peril, right? So that ball is still in play. It's a live ball. If it drops, if it's not played, if there's no out made, it's a dead ball. All right, any questions on any of those? I'm going to stop, look at the chat real quick, see if any of you guys ask any questions. No, looking good. All right. Next slide. All right, so here's the graphic that I told you guys about. All right. So we have our two batters boxes, we have right, and then we have our foul lines. So the foul lines, when they're done, they're generally made and they stop at the batter's box. But these two little corners, right? These are in fair territory. And as an umpire, that's your judgment call on whether you think that imaginary line that comes through down to home plate, all right, if a ball's in here, that's a judgment call on your part, whether that's fair or foul, all right? And that's 100% your call. So you're going to have to just do an evaluation of where that ball comes to rest. And, if it stops in one of these little triangles, you got to make that call, all right? And wait till that ball stops before you make the call, or if the catcher contacts it. If the catcher contacts it in fair territory, that's a fair ball, all right? All right, so I got a couple of videos here, and I want to go through them real quick. Some of them are long, but I'm going to cut them short. All right, so, and I just want to go through a couple of the examples of things we talked about, and if any questions come up, let me know. All right. Oh, so that's a ball that started foul, that spun fair, so that's a fair ball. There's another one. All right, started foul and spun fair. All right, there's enough of that. We're going to go to the next one. All right. All right, so what's that? Is that a fair or foul ball? It stops right there. It doesn't move. Anybody? Liam,
Fair.
that's a fair ball, right? It's on the line. All right. So that is a fair ball. All right. There's a couple more videos. All right, so that's a funny one. Nobody knew what to do there. The batter, the catcher. All right, so if the ball hits the batter right there on his toe, that would have been a foul ball. But the umpire said that didn't hit his foot, so that would be a fair ball. All right, here's an example of the ball, that last one, the ball went around the foul pole. All right, here's a ball that just foul, right? That lands foul. Again, just foul it. Contacts foul ground first. This is a good one to pay attention to right here, right? Watch where the ball is. Ball is in foul territory right there, even though the fielder was in fair territory. All right, enough of those videos. You guys can watch these videos once you get the link yourselves. They're not too much longer, but each one's about 3 or 4 minutes long. All right, any questions on fair or foul before we move to the next topic? All right, great. All right, forced runners versus not forced runners, all right? So a forced play occurs when a base runner is no longer permitted to occupy the base and must advance, right? So if they're on a base and there's a runner behind them, or they're on first base and there's a batter behind them, and they have to move forward with the ball in play, so that's a forced runner, okay? All right, a forced play on, all right, there's a lot of words here, right? So a forced play on the lead runner is removed if the trailing runner is put out prior to the lead runner reaching base safely. All right. So you most often see this at second base, first and second, right? So say you have a runner on first. All right. The batter hits a ground ball to first base. The first baseman steps on first and then throws to second. Okay. So that runner going from first to second is no longer forced because the force is removed, right? The first baseman stepped on first, he got the batter out, all right, throws the ball to second. That runner doesn't have to go anymore because the batter behind him is already out. So that runner is not forced and has to be tagged out. So that's the one that I see the most often is the fielder forgets that the tag has to be applied. They touch the base, the runner slides in, the runner is safe. The runner can also go back, right? So if that ball from the first baseman tags first, throws to second, right? That runner can now turn around and go back because they're no longer being forced. So that's a situation where the force is removed, even though the play starts with a forced play. All right. A forced runner tagged out is still considered a forced play, right? So there's still a forced runner. And this is important when it comes to the last out of an inning. Say you're in a situation where there's a runners on first and third, all right? And there's a ball to the second baseman. All right, the second baseman gets it and he goes to tag the runner. All right, but the runner stops and they move around a little bit, and that runner from third comes home and touches home plate, right? And then the second baseman tags the runner out, right? If there weren't two outs, or if that wasn't a forced play, all right, that run scores. But because that runner is a forced runner, that counts as if you just tag the bag, so that run wouldn't score. So that a forced runner, even though they're tagged, is still a force out. All right. Runners advancing on an infield fly are not forced runners, right? So if infield fly is in effect, you call infield fly, the fielder drops the ball and the runners decide to take off. Those runners are not forced. They have to be tagged, right? Batters out on an infield fly automatically, so those runners don't have to go. They have to be tagged out. All right. Runners retreating on a fly ball out are always forced. All right. Those runners do not need to be tagged. All right. And then if the third out is recorded on a force play, no run can score. All right. So any force play, third out, no run can score no matter the order. All right. So here's one of my favorite strange force play videos. This was a game a couple years ago, the Cubs and Pirates, I believe. All right. So in that situation, right? So that was weird. That was Major League Baseball that still happened, right? Those are professional baseball players. So that runner, the throw was off, right? The first baseman decided to chase the runner back down the line. All right. And the runner from third decided to come home. Right. The runner from third slides in, umpire calls him safe. All right. Now the runner who hit the ball starts running back to first. All right. If they had gotten him out at first, that run wouldn't have counted, right? Because that's a forced play, third out. But instead, the Pirates decided that they were gonna try to do something a little funny there. All they had to do was touch first base, and that run wouldn't have scored. All right, so that was just a weird situation. But when it's a forced play, it doesn't matter timing. That run can't score. All right, that only happens if you are not forced with less than 2 outs. All right. Next one. All right. Any questions before we move to the next one? Fair forced versus not forced. All right, great. All right, so base running. All right. So this is a tricky one. All right. So you always get into situations, especially in Little League, with runners running out of the baseline, right? So any runner is called out when running more than 3 feet away from the baseline to avoid being tagged, all right? Unless such action is to avoid interference with a fielder fielding the ball, okay? So the base runner can go run around a fielder if the fielder is trying to do a pop-up, they're trying to field a ground ball, they're allowed to do that, all right? But in the event where the fielder has the ball is trying to make a tag, all right, they got 3 feet. 3 feet on either direction of the baseline that they can move. And you think about it in the context of a baseball bat, all right? So 3 feet is 36 inches. Most baseball bats are about 28, 29 inches for Little League, maybe a little bit bigger for softball. But so the little bit wider than a baseball bat or a softball bat is 3 feet. All right. So here's the tricky part. All right. The baseline is established where the tag attempt occurs. Right. So the baseline is established by the runner. So that runner, if they take a wide turn around a base, all right, that baseline is going to be different, all right, depending on the path that runner takes to the base that they're advancing to. So from the perspective of this rule, the rule comes into play where that runner has established the baseline and where that tag was first attempted to be made. That runner gets 3 feet from that point. So just think of it from the perspective of a runner rounding first. All right, they're not coming and doing a 90-degree turn on first base and going straight to second. They're doing a wide turn, right, and they're coming up high, and then they're doing a straight line from where they turn over to second. All right, so they're way out of what you would consider the baseline, but that's the baseline that they've established. So it's always from the baseline that the runner has established where we take into account where that runner is determined to being out of the baseline or not. All right. If 2 runners occupy the same base and both are tagged, the trail runner is out unless the lead runner is forced. All right. If the lead runner is forced, then the lead runner is out. All right. So this does happen from time to time. All right. But if as long as it's not a forced play, all right, the trail runner is out. All right. If a trailing runner passes the lead runner, the trail runner is out. The ball remains live and the lead runner may continue to run at their own risk. All right. So situation where you have a runner on first and there's a pop fly to the outfield. The runner takes a few steps. They wait, all right, and the outfielder drops the ball. But while that runner's waiting to see what happens with the play, the batter who hit it passes them. All right. Even though that ball's dropped, the batter, that trail runner, that batter is now out. Ball's still live, and that lead runner can do what they need to do. They can advance at their own peril. They can go back to the base. But as soon as that runner is passed, the trail runner is always out. All right. Slide or avoid. Okay. So this rule got updated a couple years ago. We used to have a must slide rule in Hopkinton Little League, and we've changed that to align more with the Little League actual Little League rule from the Little League handbook. So there is no must slide rule. So the rule is a runner is out when not making a physical attempt to slide in order to avoid a collision with the fielder who has the ball and is attempting to make the tag. All right. I'll say that one more time. A runner is out when not making a physical attempt to slide in order to avoid a collision when a fielder has the ball and is attempting to make a tag. Okay. So play at second coming in from the outfield. All right, that runner doesn't have to slide, even if that fielder grabbed the ball like on a bang bang play, as you know, and if there was no attempt to make a tag, or if it wasn't enough time to make a tag, that runner doesn't have to slide. All right, the only time they have to slide is if the fielder has the ball and they're in a position to make a tag. All right. Now here's the other piece of this, right? So if you as an umpire determine that the runner deliberately made contact, right? Deliberately made contact to influence the play, all right, or injure, so influence or injure, then at your discretion you can call the runner out. All right. And there's also a potential for ejection from the game depending on what happens. But if in your opinion that runner made contact deliberately to try to influence the play, that is your call. All right. If you think it made a difference in the play, you can make that call and having the runner be out. All right. Head first slide while advancing bases results in the runner being called out. There's no warning there. All right. If it's a head first slide advancing, the runner's out. A head first slide returning to a previously occupied base is allowed. All right. So advancing, no head first slide. You can only do it when you're returning. All right. Any questions on base running? All right. All right. Termination of play. This is draft league specific. Okay. And this is when play has to stop and the runners have to stop running. Okay. So for farm, all right, ball hit to the infield, runners get one base on an overthrow. All right. They can't advance two, and even if there's a second overthrow after the first overthrow, they can only advance that one base. All right. On a ball hit to the outfield, one base on a ball overthrown to the infielder. So ball goes to the center fielder. Center fielder overthrows his cutoff. The runner can advance one base. All right. Ball hit to the outfield and thrown into an infielder. All right. Runner remains if the infielder then overthrows a base, right? So the center fielder throws it to the second baseman. The second baseman then throws it to the first baseman because the runner's taking a lead. All right. But the runner then cannot advance. The runner has to remain. All right. So I already said successive overthrows do not allow for additional bases. All right. And then on a ball hit to the outfield, the play terminates when the ball comes into possession of an infielder standing in the infield. Okay. That's so ball hit the center fielder. The ball comes in, gets to the second baseman, standing in the dirt. The play has to stop. The runners cannot advance anymore. Runners who are already in the act of advancing, though, while the ball's still in the air, can be allowed to continue to the next base. So as an umpire in the field, as an umpire at home, it's important to pay attention to where the runners are when the ball is thrown and where the ball is possessed. So as soon as that ball comes into possession with an infielder, then the play has to stop. And that's for farm league.
And with
right?
them being able to play the four outfielders, you're going to have to make sure that they're not sneaking into the infield to stop the play. Like it has to be given to an infielder.
Has to be an infielder. Yep. Good point, Billy. All right. Minors and majors. All right. So play terminates when the pitcher has possession of the ball in the mound area. Right. So if they're in their feet are on the dirt, that's considered the mound area. Now, many of the mounds, the mound comes down. It's not a circle, right? And that mound comes to a point, right? That's supposed to be grass, but just due to a lot of people using it, it's usually dirt. That mound is a circle, so you need to make that judgment call of when you consider that pitcher to be in the pitcher's circle on the mound, right? So it's not on the rubber, it's on the dirt. All right. So same deal. Runners already in the act of advancing when the ball's in the air, they may continue to do so. But as soon as that pitcher has the ball on the mound, on the dirt, then that's the termination of play for minors and major. All right, so 10U softball, very similar to farm. So ball hit to the infield, one base on an overthrow. Ball hit to the outfield, no advancing on a ball overthrown to an infielder, or if the infielder receives and then overthrows a base. Same deal. Same deal with the successive overthrows for additional bases. And then same rule for 10U and farm. On a ball hit to the outfield, play terminates when the ball comes in to the infield dirt, whether in possession or not. That's the difference, 10U in farm, right? So as soon as that ball comes into and touches dirt, whether it's possession or not for 10U, that's the termination of play for 10U. All right, and then 12U and majors and minors are the same. Play terminates when the pitcher has possession of the ball within the pitcher's circle. That's a little bit more established. You have the white chalk line around the pitcher's circle. So that's the termination of play for 12U. All right, any questions on termination of play? All right, ball in play that contacts a runner. All right, so the runner is out if hit by a batted ball in fair territory. The ball is dead and the batter is awarded first base unless the batter is the one that touched the batter's batted ball. Other runners advance only if forced. This includes runners standing on a base. Exceptions. All right. If the ball passes through the infield except for a pitcher or is first touched by a fielder, the runner is not out and the ball remains live, right? So runner on first is going to second. The second baseman goes to field the ball goes through their legs and then hits the runner. The runner's running behind the second baseman. The runner is not out, right? That ball passed through the fielder. All right. Now, if that ball ricochets off the pitcher, that doesn't count. All right. The pitcher, that's not in play. All right. So if that ball it first touches a fielder or if it passes through an infielder and then hits a runner, the runner is not out. But if say it's a line drive or there was no play made on the ball or the ball gets ricocheted off a pitcher and then hits the runner, then the runner's out. All right. And then the batter gets awarded first base. Now, what I mean by other runners advance only if forced. So say you have the bases loaded, right? And that ball hits the runner going from second to third, right? So the batter gets first, the runner on first gets second, the runner on third gets home. That runner was forced, right? The batter that gets hit, that batter is out, all right, and that's a dead ball, right? So runners forced get to move forward. All right. If the batter makes contact with the ball while they're still in their own batter's box, right? They have not yet begun running to first, then it's a foul ball. However, once the batter begins to advance to first base, they are now a runner. All right, and the batter will be out if they contacted the ball as soon as they start to run. All right. So on the thrown ball, all right, the call is in the judgment of the umpire if the runner intentionally interferes with the throw. All right. So the rule is that if a runner intentionally interferes with the throw, then the runner is out. But that is a judgment call on your part as an umpire. All right. So common occurrences where this may happen, right? On a double play attempt, if the runner running to second fails to clear the throwing lane after being put out at second base, right? If they continue to run to second base and don't get out of the way, right? You can call that runner at first out for the runner being in the way, or if the fielder throws the ball and hits the runner, all right, that runner at first can be called out. All right, so on a bunt attempt or a drop third strike is another common one. The batter running to first in a manner to block the catcher's throw. All right, so drop third strike. The batter knows that the ball's gone, a little bit up the third baseline, but they are running in fair territory to try to block the throw between the catcher and the first baseman. All right, that catcher throws and hits the runner. In your discretion, you can call that runner out for intentionally running in the way. All right. Any questions on ball in play context runner? Theo.
So on the double play attempt, if the runner going to second doesn't slide or avoid, are they both out?
So on a double play attempt, the runner going to second, obviously that runner on second has to be put out first, right? So if that put out doesn't happen, then all bets are off. All right. But so say the runner coming in, if they don't slide, right, or they don't get out, or they don't peel off, get out of the way, in your judgment, right, as an umpire, if that play could have been made at first, or if they impacted the play at first, you can call the batter who's running to first out. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So drop third strike is in majors only. Okay. So with less than 2 outs, first base open, batter may advance if strike 3 is not caught cleanly. All right. And I want to talk about that word, not cleanly, right? So even if the catcher catches the ball, right? If that ball touches the dirt, say he does a short hop, right? If that ball touches the dirt at all, it does not count as being caught cleanly. That is a drop third strike. All right, so that's something that you need to pay attention to when there's 2 strikes on a batter in majors. Okay, all right, so that's with less than 2 outs and first base open. Okay, with same thing with 2 outs and first base open, batter may advance if strike 3 is not caught cleanly. All right, catcher may tag the runner or throw to first. Okay, that's a force play at first. Or you can tag the runner out. All right. With 2 outs and runners on base. I'm sorry, go ahead, Billy.
I think that one's supposed to be with 2 outs and first base is not open, because when there's 2 outs and first base is occupied, you can still do it with 2 outs.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. With 2 outs and first base occupied. Yes, I'm sorry. That's right. Oops, how do I do that? I went too far. How do I go back? I'll fix that one. All right. So yeah, I'm sorry. With 2 outs and first base occupied, the batter may advance. All right. Good catch, Billy. With 2 outs and runners on base, a forced play is in effect for runners who are forced to advance. Okay. So as a catcher, that catcher doesn't need to throw to first. They can throw to any base where that runner is forced, right? So they can throw to third, they can step on home, they can throw to second, whatever that easy play is. And that runner is out as long as they're forced to advance. Right? So a ball that's caught, like I already said, caught cleanly, but touches the dirt or bounces, that counts as a drop third strike. All right. And this is an important one because this is a rule that's different for Little League than it is for other levels of baseball or softball or baseball. I guess we only count it for majors, but for other levels of baseball. So for Little League, batter gives themselves up only when they reach the dead ball area or if contacted by another player or coach. All right. So if Billy gets drop third strike and they walk 3/4 of the way or almost to the dugout and then realize that that was a drop third strike, they can run and go touch first. They'll be safe at first. All right. So the rule, and this is a written rule for Little League only, the runner has to be in a dead ball area. As soon as that runner touches, high fives another player, the coach pats him on the back, that's considered a dead ball area. That runner is now they've given themselves up. But this is one rule that commonly gets confused, is when a lot of people think as soon as maybe that runner touches the grass, or if they don't start to run, that they're giving themselves up. That's not the Little League rule. Little League rule is a dead ball area, and then the runner has given themselves up. All right. So when an umpire signals a drop third strike, they point with their right hand and arm out to the side with no voice. Okay. So third strike, you're not giving a strike 3 call. You put your arm to the side and you don't say anything. And you don't want to give either the catcher or the runner an advantage there. You want to stay silent and see how that plays out. And then either the runner gets tagged, they get out at first, or they go to the dead ball area, and then you can make the out call. All right. Any questions on drop third strike? You got something?
Dylan had a question in the chat.
Dylan did? All right. Let's see what Dylan's got.
Yeah.
Where is dead ball area? Okay, good question, right? So dead ball area is beyond the fence line, okay? So the dead ball area is the dugout, the backstop, the fence that goes down the baseline. So that is dead ball area. So If the runner is running back and they grab the fence, right? That they've now contacted the dead ball area, or as soon as they take that turn and go beyond where the dugout and they enter the dugout, the dugout is a dead ball area. Okay. Good question. All right. Interference and obstruction. All right. This is the hardest rule for you guys, for everybody. It's the hardest rule for umpires. It's the hardest rule for coaches, because there's a lot of interpretation that needs to happen here. And this is one. It's a hard call to make, and this is a judgment call for you as an umpire. Okay. So even baseball rules even make this even more difficult for you guys to understand, right? So if you go and look up, like, hey, what's the difference between obstruction and interference, right? So you'll get something that pops up that says a fielder obstructs a runner and a runner interferes with a fielder. Okay, so for most cases, a fielder obstructs a runner and a runner interferes with the fielder. All right, except for catcher's interference, which is kind of funny, right? So catcher's interference, so if a catcher interferes with the batter, okay? So we'll get to that in a second, all right? So a fielder's obstruction, okay? Fielder does not clear the base or base path on a batted ball. At the discretion of the umpire, the runner may be awarded an additional base or bases, may be called safe if the obstruction impacted the result of the play, okay? So the most common place you'll see this is, right, a ball hit to the outfield, and that first baseman goes and covers first base like they're going to get an out, right? That runner goes to round first to go to second, and they either have to change their path, or they bump into the runner. Sometimes it happens at second base with a runner going from second to third. All right. If you feel as an umpire, all right, that fielder hindered the runner's ability to advance, at your discretion, you can say, hey, you get another base, or say that runner gets out at second and they bumped into the first baseman going by. You can say no, obstruction. Your runner is safe at first. Or the situation, that runner gets tripped up by the first baseman, and you are pretty confident if they didn't get tripped up, they would have ended up on third. All right. As an umpire, at your discretion, you could say, no, fielder's obstruction. That runner gets to go to third base. Okay. So that's the most common is the fielder covering a base and getting in the way when they don't need to. Okay. A fake tag by the fielder, which causes the base runner to unnecessarily slide, is obstruction. All right. So the same thing, umpire at their discretion may award additional bases if they deem the runner may have been obstructed from the opportunity to further advance, right? Third baseman standing on third, runner around second. The third baseman pretends that he's going to catch the ball, and then it goes down to the tag. The runner slides, all right, and they pop up. If they had kept running, they may have gotten home. Okay, so in your discretion, if you think the runner could have made it another base based on where the ball was, and that fielder did a fake tag causing them to slide, you can award them an extra base. All right. Catcher's interference. So on a swing, if the bat hits a catcher's mitt, all right. So it's not a warning. All right, this is a rule. So if the bat hits the catcher's mitt on a swing, or any part of the catcher on a forward swing, all right, not on the back swing. This is on the bat coming forward. All right. If it's not put in play in fair territory, it's a dead ball, and the batter is awarded first base. All right. Runners will advance only if forced. Okay. So if the ball's not put in play in fair territory, if it's a foul ball, if it's a swing and a miss, then it's a dead ball, and the batter's awarded first, and any forced runners will advance. All right. If the ball is put into play, it's a delayed dead ball. Okay. You let the play go out, and you see what happens. Okay. The umpire will allow the play to continue to a point where no further action is possible. Then call time and evaluate. All right. The coach of the batting team has the option to allow the results of the ball in play or enforce the dead ball penalty. All right. So this is a funny one, right? So say the bases are loaded and the batter swings, hits the catcher's mitt, and puts the ball in play to the shortstop. The shortstop then throws the runner out at first. All right. As a coach, you're going to want to enforce the catcher's interference, right? Your runner gets awarded first, everybody advances, all right, and you get a run scored, all right. Now on that same pitch, say bases loaded, that batter swings, hits the catcher's mitt, and then hits a double, and the base is clear, and 3 runs score. That's the coach's option. They don't have to take the catcher's interference. They can take the result of the play. All right. So on a ball in play, it's a delayed dead ball. Okay. All right. And then if put in play and all runners on base, including the batter, advance at least 1 base, then the play continues and the catcher's interference is called off. Okay. So I guess that was a bad example of me, but if all runners on base, including the batter, advance at least 1 base, there's no catcher's interference. All right. Instruction and interference at home. All right. This is a tough one. Uh, I'll be the first one to say there's a lot of gray area here, and 50-50. All right, this is at your discretion, your call. This is a tricky one to evaluate. It's always at the discretion of the umpire. This obstruction and interference at home. All right, so the catcher without the ball in possession has no right to block the pathway of the runner. Very similar to the must slide rule, the catcher can't block the baseline. All right. If the catcher fielder is about to receive a thrown ball that carries them into the base path, all right, that's still an obstruction by the catcher. This is a Little League rule, all right? It's different from Major League Baseball, all right? But so in Little League, all right, even if the throw takes you into the baseline, that the catcher's not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to obstruct the runner, all right? If the runner contacts the catcher or fielder in possession of the ball or interferes with the catcher, fielder in the act of making a play, then the runner may be called out. And again, this is a bang bang play. If you think that runner had the opportunity to avoid the catcher but made contact and influence a play, you can call the runner out. Judgment call. These are very fast bang bang plays, and it's at your discretion. If that runner's coming down the line, the catcher's in a decent position, but maybe borderline. If you think the runner could have done a better job of getting around the catcher or getting out of the way of the catcher, and they make contact, the catcher drops the ball, you can call that runner out for not making an attempt to get out of the way. All right. And then if the catcher fielder loses possession of the ball due to contact by the runner, it's a dead ball. Ball is dead. Runners cannot no longer advance. And then an appropriate slide by the base runner that generates contact is never considered interference. Okay, if that runner makes a good slide in advance and makes contact with the catcher, it's not there is no interference call there. All right. This is probably one of the hardest calls that you guys will come across, and it's just something. It's paying attention, and it's a judgment call. Did the runner have an opportunity to avoid the catcher? Did the catcher get into the baseline early or obstruct the runner? If that runner, just put it very simply, if the runner has to alter his path, if the runner has to slow down to avoid making a collision, all right. So that catcher has then obstructed the runner, even if there's no contact made, right? So it's just that when that runner's rounding third, just pay attention to where the catcher's positioned and where the runner has established the baseline. All right, Billy sent me this video. This is actually a pretty good one. All right, so that's a great video. I'm glad Billy found it. So that's a perfect example that that's the rule that they got correct. So Major League Baseball has actually changed a little bit. So they're a little bit closer to Little League now. All right, but that is the rule. So this is a tough one. And this will happen. Who's got a hand raised? Tim?
Yeah. So I had a question like, what if you thought that you had called time and you're a home plate umpire and you thought you called time but you didn't, and you go over to talk to like a coach, or maybe you did but no one heard you, go to talk about a coach about a call or the other umpire, and the pitcher throws a pitch. Is it just no pitch and you just say like, oh, sorry, I called time but don't hear me, or
Yeah,
maybe you didn't?
absolutely. You're in charge, right? That's your game. You're the one in charge. If you think you called time, all right, even in your mind, if you're not there behind the plate and ready to take a play, that's time is out, right? So the game doesn't proceed until you're ready as an umpire and you tell the pitcher that the ball's in play. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Theo, you had a question?
Yeah, so on the appropriate slide by the base runner or no, when the catcher loses possession of the ball due to contact and the ball is dead, is the runner out still?
It depends on this. It depends on the situation, right? If the runner gets in safe, right, and the contact causes the ball to come loose, right? This would come into a situation where, like, say, less than 2 outs and runners on base, right? So even if the runner's safe and that contact is made, that ball comes loose. It's still a dead ball. That runner on second can't advance. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether the runner's safe or out in that situation. If the contact causes the ball to come out, that's a dead ball. Okay. I think I saw Eli. Did you have a question? Eli, I think you're still on mute.
Yeah, sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute. Um, let's take like that clip for example. What if the catcher like just received the ball instead of going to receive it? Would that still be obstruction?
It's a bang bang play, right? So the catcher's not allowed to set up in the baseline, right? So for Little
Okay.
League, all right, so that um if you feel that the runner may have slowed up, right? Say the runner slowed up or the runner tried to alter his path, all right, then that's obstruction, right? Even on a bang bang play. So in
Okay.
that situation, the catcher needs to be clear of the baseline. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Now, if
Oh,
there's a little bit more time, right? If it's not a bang bang play, right, and that catcher has the ball, he's now has the ball and is waiting to make a tag, right? So that is not an obstruction. And if that runner contacts him and the ball comes out, you can call interference on the runner and call the runner out. All right.
Okay.
what if there was someone out there and they're running home, and someone, say from like center or second base, throws it to the catcher who was in front of the plate, so not in the way of the runner, and has to dive to the side to catch the ball in the way of the base path because they threw it to the side. So they
Mhm.
like dive into the way of the runner, but it's so quick that the runner doesn't realize, and the runner gets like trucked. Is it still interference, or is the like what happens there?
That would be an obstruction by the catcher, right? So if the catcher doesn't have possession of the ball, even the Little League rule is that they can't, even if they're trying to attempt to field a ball, all right, they can't obstruct the runner, all right, and it really comes down to it's a safety thing, all right. We don't want the catcher running through the baseline and creating a collision. All right. So even if the throw pulls you into the baseline, that catcher is not allowed to obstruct the runner. So the catcher
So
needs to.
it's
So on
it's
that throw, that catcher needs to take that ball and position themselves so they're not in the baseline, right? Either in front of the baseline or behind the baseline, and then they can make a play on the runner.
So if the catcher is standing in a way and there's obstruction and the ball bounces and they field it right as the runner makes it to the catcher, that's obstruction.
Yeah, that's a tough. Those bang bang plays are really tough, right? So if that runner has the ball, all right, and say that fielder makes one step, two steps, right? Now they have the ball and they're waiting to make a tag. So that any collision there that causes the ball to come loose, right? That's on the runner. The runner will be out. All right. So it's a very it's all about timing. And as an umpire, you need to make that judgment call. Did that runner have the opportunity to get out of the way? All right. Or did the catcher cause the runner to slow up or alter their path and then get caught out, get tagged out? It's This is a very, very hard one for you guys. It's hard for the coaches. It's hard for, it's hard for the for you guys as umpires. And it's the best advice I can give you. All right, watch that video a couple times. All right, if you make a call, stick to your guns. Okay, you're this is one of those ones that there's really it's very hard to get it perfect. Okay, and don't feel bad about making a call and then questioning whether or not you got it right. This is a very hard one.
Thank you.
All right. So Billy sent me this video. All right. So these are all catchers who are just standing there waiting for the ball to come in. Right. None of them have the ball yet, but they're all in the way of the plate. So the catcher's not allowed to be there if they don't have the ball. Now, if the ball's coming in and the ball gets that to them before the runner, that's fine. All right. But so this guy in the middle, right? So say he slows up because he doesn't want to run into the catcher full speed, or he alters his angle, and because of that, the catcher now has time to get the ball and tag him out. Or if you feel that way that catcher is set up impacts the ability of that runner to get home, altered their path, altered their speed, you can call the runner safe even if they get tagged out. Okay, it's all about where that catcher is set up. So the catcher either needs to be set up behind the plate, all right, or on one side of the baseline or the other. They don't want to be set up in the baseline or what that runner has established as a baseline. All right. We can talk about this one for hours, guys. Really, it is just a tough one. All right. Any other questions? We got a couple more slides to go. We're a little bit over time. All right. Interference and obstruction again. So coach interference with a play, a runner. So if at the discretion of the umpire, a base coach, by touching or holding the runner, physically impacts the play, then the ball is dead and the runner is out. A lot of times you'll see a base coach, push a runner to second base to keep them advancing, or grab a runner to keep them from going because they think they'll be out at home. All right, that is a coach interference, and the runner is out. And then at the discretion of the umpire, if the base coach impedes a fielder from making a play, then the ball is dead and the batter runner is out. So this a lot of times happens on a line drive foul or a pop fly foul. If the coach just stands there and the player runs into them, the coach doesn't make any attempt to get out of the way, you can call the batter out. All right. The interference must be deemed as intentional or avoidable. All right. So intentional is the coach purposely doesn't get out of the way, or avoidable means he could have easily got out of the way, but he didn't. All right. Interference in the batter's box. All right. At the discretion of the umpire, if a batter fails to clear the batter's box and interferes with the result of the play on a runner, the runner can be called out. All right. Examples of that: pass ball at home, batter fails to clear the box and blocks a throw, right? Batter stands there and gets in the way of the catcher throwing the ball to the pitcher, all right? Then you can call the runner at home out. Or while trying to throw out a base runner stealing, the batter impedes the throw, right? Say on a third strike, the runner steals, the catcher goes to throw the ball, and the runner crosses in front of the plate in front of the catcher, okay? You can call that runner out. All right, umpire interference. All right, if the pitch or thrown ball contacts an umpire, the ball is alive and in play. That whether it's a field umpire or a base umpire, home plate umpire, I should say. All right, if an umpire in fair territory is struck by a batted ball in front of the infielders, the ball is dead and the batter is awarded first base. All right. I think you guys are all instructed to stand behind the infielders, but sometimes you'll see umpires stay in front of the infielders. So umpire in front of the infielder. The ball is dead. Batters awarded first. Runners advance only if forced. If the behind the infielders, the ball is live, and the runners may advance at their own peril. All right. And then base runner interference. A base runner who interferes with a fielder in the act of making a play shall, at the discretion of the umpire, be called out. Right. And the ball shall be called dead, and any base runner returned to the previous occupied base. Right. So the runner runs into a fielder trying to catch a pop up or trying to field a ground ball. Could have easily gotten out of the way, but didn't. All right. Ball is dead. Runner's out, and base runners return to the previously occupied base. So this is one of my all-time favorite plays. Super intense Yankees Red Sox game with my least favorite player, Alex Rodriguez here.
Wait, what happened in the beginning? Sort of missed it.
All right. So on that play, all right, so Alex Rodriguez get called out, all right, for base runner interference. And then Derek Jeter, who was on first to start, he made it all the way to third. He got returned back to first base. All right. So that was a base runner interference. All right.
Did
Base
he
stealing.
hit the ball out of the glove?
He did. So he swatted at it, right? So he made contact with the fielder with the attempt to influence the result of the play. All right. So same thing. If the fielder is down to field a ground ball, or their hands are up to a pop fly, if that runner makes contact and affects the result of that play, then that runner is out. All right. Base stealing. So leaving early and they're safe. If the runner reached base safely, then the runner will be returned to the preceding base, and then the previous pitch does count. If they're leaving early and they're out, the runner is out and the previous pitch counts. All right. Leaving early on a ball in play, right? So the runner leaves early and the batter hits the ball. The result of the play is at the discretion of the umpire. The umpire may call the base runner out and return the base runner to a previous base, or allow the play to stand as is. So you as an umpire, if you say, they left early, but it didn't impact where I feel that runner would have ended up, you don't have to do anything. If you think they might have gotten extra base out of it, right, you can return them back to the base. Or if you said, oh, well, it was a close play, I think they would have been out, but if they hadn't left early, you can call that runner out. That's your decision. All right, bat rules. So baseball bat rules, metal bats must bear this USA Baseball logo. Solid one-piece wood bats do not require this logo, right? So this is going to be really important for you guys this year, because a lot of the club teams are now allowing the U-trip bats. So I've already found 2 U-trip bats at my youngest son's practice that we've had to tell the parents that you can't use these in the Little League. So really do a good job at checking these bats to make sure they all have this USA Baseball logo on them for baseball. And then for softball, no more than 33 inches, 2 1/4 inch diameter. Bats shall be printed with a BFP of 1.20. All right. And for TVL only, for the Summer League, bats must bear the ASA logo. All right. So here's the ASA logo. All right. I got a BPF of 120. I got a 2¼ inch barrel. All right. I got a 32-inch bat. So this is a legal bat. All right, next picture. Some of these are kind of hard to see, but for baseball bats, so the U-Trip, so that's the USSSA, BB Core, or any bat that says for approved use with T-balls is an illegal bat for draft leagues. All right, so this is the BB Core logo. This is the U-Trip logo here. All right, so this here you can't really see it, right? But this is an older bat. It says approved for play in Little League. It doesn't have the USA stamp on it though, so it's not an illegal bat. Ryan Moore, you remember that from Sizzler, right? So there was an older bat. It said approved for use in Little League, but it was an old bat, didn't have the USA logo. That's an illegal bat. All right. This one here, you can see it's got the USA logo on it. All right. But on the handle, it says only for use with approved T-balls. That's a T-ball bat. So that can't be used in a hardball draft league. All right. Softball bats. All right. Softball bats labeled slow pitch only. Those should not be used in softball leagues. Generally, those bats are really big anyway. So I don't think you come across those a lot. All right. But any bat that doesn't have a BPF or has a BPF of 1.21 is not allowed, right? So this is a picture of a bat. It doesn't have any BFP logo on it, right? So that would be an illegal softball bat. So that BFP needs to be 1.20. All right, we're almost done, I promise. All right, dead ball. Dead ball is dead immediately on a hit by pitch. All right, hit on the hands. The hands are part of the batter's body. There's a judgment by the umpire must be made if the ball hit the bat or the hands first. If it's the hands first, the batter is awarded first base. Swing on a hit by pitch. A strike is called and the ball is called dead. No drop third strike can be called in this scenario. All right. So if the batter swings, offers at a pitch, even if it hits them, it's a strike. All right. Hit by pitch on a bounced pitch. Ball comes in, hits the ground, bounces and hits the batter. Ball is dead. Batter is awarded first base. All right. Sorry, we're going into speed round here. All right. Batting out of order. All right. Defensive coach must appeal to the umpire. If it happens during the at-bat, the proper batter is substituted in and the count remains the same. All right. After the completion of the at-bat, prior to the first pitch of the next at-bat, all right, the batter who is the correct batter is called out. The result of any ball in play or base on ball shall be nullified and then runners return to their previously occupied base. Runners advancing during a legal at-bat, stolen base, or pass ball can remain at the base that they advance to. If less than 3 out, the proper batter following the called out batter is now up to bat. And then if the appeal is not made prior to the next pitch, then the result of the out of the order. Man, I really worded that bad. I'm going to have to clean that up. Out of order bat is now official. I'll clean this up before I send that to you guys. And sorry, just read through this one more time when you get these slides. I haven't seen this happen a ton, but it will happen occasionally in for the Little League teams. All right, that was the last slide I had. All right, we went through those last few ones really quickly. We went probably about 15 minutes longer than I was planning, but I'll stay on if anybody has additional questions. I'm happy to answer them. Put your name in the chat so we know that you were here if you haven't already. And if you want to take off, great. If you want to stick around and ask more questions, I'll stick around for as long as people want to stay on. So any other questions? Ryan.
So for the safety first base, let's say it's a drop third strike. Can the fielder touch either the regular first base and the color base, or can he only touch the regular first base?
Great question. So the out is only made on the regular first base. If the fielder touches the safety base, it is not an out. It has to be the regular first base. The safety base is only for the runner.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
And that's on any play in the field. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Rikos.
Anytime. All right. Well, looking forward to seeing you guys on the field this year.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you guys.
How'd that go? All right.
Yeah, I think so. Do you think?
Yeah. I'll
We
have
had,
to make
we
it a
had pretty
little.
much,
I got to
we
clean
had a
up.
lot of them there and a lot of
Yeah.
questions, like more than I expected.
No, that's great to see them engaged. So I got to
And
clean
that
up
they
a couple
were
of
like,
slides. Though.
even
Yeah.
during the thing, they were very engaged. Like there were two, nobody else is on here, right? There were two that I really wish would have been on here.